In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a very limited grid line from one point to another and control the thickness, color, and more in chartjs 4. So to do this, the first thing what we need to do here is to get our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page and of course, join the Discord channel for any questions. So, first of all, what we want to do is we want to hide all the grid lines here, and we can do that because we're going to work on the vertical level, but these vertical grid lines are directly connected to the X scale. So don't get confused by that. So I'm going to say a comma, and just put in here the X scale, and then we can say here grid, and I can just say display false. Very straightforward. Save. Refresh. And as you can see here now, all the vertical lines are gone. So let's assume I want to create a line from 14, or let's say from number 6 all the way to 14. How do we do this? First of all, I have to create a custom plugin because we're going to have to assign or control the drawing here because by default this is not possible. I will call this a segment line because basically these are called segments. So within the segment here of every tick, we're going to draw. So in here, constant equals this ID equals the segment line, and then we're going to say here, before we draw the data sets, before data sets draw, we will draw this, and then make sure data sets with an S, chart, arcs, and plugin options, and then once we do that is an object destructuring, sorry, CTX, and then probably need the scales because we'll be using the X and Y scale. This will be equal to chart, and once we did that, what I want to do now is start to draw. First of all, because we have these items here, we can start to play around with it, and let's do a console log and just show you here the X scale. Once I did this, open up here, you can see here we get the category scale. And then in the category scale, we get all of this information here. The category scale is basically a type. If I scroll down here, type category. This is very important because we're going to work with a category scale that has a slightly different structure if we would have a number here on the scale or a linear scale like a line chart or a scatter chart, or if we would have a floating bar chart. So let me show you what we need. Well, we see here the grid line items. It gives us basically the X and Y coordinates. So that already is quite nice. So we can even grab this, or we'll just make our own. I think that's probably the most important one. The first thing what I want to do here is get the category. You say X type should be category, because for this structure, this will work specifically for the category access. That will mean we have these category labels here. So what I want to do here is basically the following. I'm going to say here, first ctx.save to save all variables above, and then I'm going to say here if this X type scale would be the category. If this is true, then we're going to start to draw something. And what I want to do here is let's start to grab one of these positions here. Because we have the X and Y, we can use a built-in functionality. So I'm going to say here, constant, and let's say here the X coordinate, that would basically be this function. We say X, which is reference to the X scale, get pixel for the value, and the value would be, well, let's say in this case index 0. If I do index 0, and what I want to do as well is for the Y we can just say the Y coordinate, but maybe not even Y coordinate, Y starting point, because our starting point would be number 6, and then after ending would be number 14. So I can say here for the Y scale, this will be number 6, and then we can say here Y end number 14. Put that in there. Once you save this, we can start to draw something. So I say ctx.begin path, because I want to create a new shape or a line that's independent of anything else. Next, what I want to do is I want to give it a thickness. So say ctx.line width, maybe 3 pixels in thickness, and then ctx.line, or sorry, stroke style for the color. I'm going to grab just a simple color here. I'm just going to grab this solid black color here, but you can do any color you want. Then what I want to do here is now start to define the path. So I say ctx.move to, and move to will be an x and y coordinate. And the x and y coordinate in this case would be the x coordinate here, and we have our starting point for the y. Once I did that, I can do a next one, and that will be the line tool, but the line tool will be the y end. Once we did this, I want to draw this specific line here. So I say stroke, save, refresh, there we are. So this is an issue here because the category axis calculates the center here. So if this is 0, we have to move it a little bit more to the left or to the right. In this case, I want to move it to the left because I want to put in everywhere the same line. So the issue here is that if this is 0, we have to move, and this is 1, the center here would be minus 0.5 or plus 0.5. At least the difference is 0.5. So I need to do this here. So we have this here. Then I'm going to say here minus 0.5. By doing that, I will now move to the exact side. Alright, so once this works, we have all of this logic, and this is only for the category axis. That's why we have to do this specifically here. So now what I want to do is I want to do a for each loop and just loop through these items, because what I want to do here, first of all, I want to get the length, and the length that will be where exactly, let me just show you. We're going to get the x scale, and we get all the ticks information, and the ticks information on the x scale here, we scroll down, we see here somewhere the ticks, there we are. There's 7 items here in an array, so we're going to say here ticks.length. This will give us the information, and then we can do here a for each, or not a for each loop, but a for loop. So we're going to say a for loop, and then we say here let I equals 0, and then we're going to loop through the I as long as it is smaller or equal to the length here. By doing this, we say I++ to iterate that. We can now copy all of this, put it in here, and we have to make sure that the constant variables are in there as well, because they will change all the time. This will be then the I, and this will be solid, so I will keep this in the same position. Save that, refresh, there we are. So if you see this here, you see here it's being clipped off, and the reason why it's clipped off is because it's like 2 or 3 pixels, or well, I guess it has only maybe a 1 pixel. So what we can do is we can move that, or we can add a padding on there. So let's do both options. If we want to move it maybe 1 or 2 pixels to the left, what we can do here on the y of x coordinate, we just say here minus 2 pixels. So basically it will convert this to pixel, and then it will deduct that with the 2 pixel. There you are, that works. Or if you don't want to do this, you want to maintain it, we can just go here down. We're going to say here in the options, layout. Then we can say here padding. And then we're going to say here right side, or basically right padding. And then we can put in here maybe 5 pixels or 3 pixels, how many you want. If I save this, refresh, and you can see now it's being pushed a few pixels to the left, having here additional white space of 5 pixels, and that's it.